Hey friends, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya, for those of you that are new here, and I am a watercolor artist. So it's the time of the year that we're going to start seeing some bugs and insects outside, and one of my favorite ones to paint is the dragonfly. And I'm going to be painting it for you in this video today using the watercolor brush pens. So I hope you enjoy the video. So to get started, I've got my Arteza watercolor paper, I've got a pencil, and I've got two paintbrushes, size 12, and I believe this is a size 6. And I'm going to be using my Arteza watercolor brush pens today. You can use any brand you have. I just love this brand, so I've been sticking to this one. And I'm just going to pull out a couple, let's see, I've got about 6 colors here. So I'm going to be using about 6 colors. I'll let you know what colors I'm using as I'm going along. But I really love the watercolor brush pens. You can get such great detail with these, and they blend so beautifully, especially on the Arteza watercolor paper. All right, so I am going to lightly sketch out my dragonfly. You can Google any image of a dragonfly you want. I just Googled a generic one, just kind of like seeing his whole body. But you can do it sideways if you want to, like if he's on like a little flower or something. Whatever you want, perfect. All right, so I'm going to be just lightly sketching in where his little body's going to be. So his little head. And you want to make sure that you leave room for the wings, because the wings are really, really long. And his body's just so skinny. So just make sure, you might have to erase it a couple times. So just kind of lightly sketch in, and you can go in and fix this up later. This is just to get the placement of his little body. And he's got like 2 eyes here. And you can go in and lighten this up later, so don't worry about it. And I think his little wings start coming off the body right about here. So I'm going to come in and the wings are very long. And then this one kind of overlaps underneath. And then this one. And even if you don't get them perfectly the same, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. But just try the best you can. All right, I'm trying to see if I want this one a little longer. All right, then I'm going to just take my eraser and just start lightening up my lines and erasing the lines that I don't want. And I'm not going to erase them too much and lighten them up too much, because I want you to still be able to see where it is. But if I wasn't doing this on camera, I'd probably be lightening up my lines a lot more. And then just take a brush and just wipe them away, all your little eraser shavings. Try not to use your hands, number 1, because there's oil on your hands and it might get on your paper. And number 2, you don't want to smear your pencil marks. Especially on the Arteza watercolor paper, it smears pretty easy, depending on what number lead you're using. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just pencil in where his little arms come out. Actually, I'm going to bring up his head a little bit more. I didn't leave that much here for the little body. Bring up the body a little bit more. And then he's got like these 2 little things here right below the eyes. And he's got a little mouth. And then I'll bring up the arms like this. And then there's like 3 little joints here. So as you're Googling your little image of your dragonfly, just see how many of the little joints are showing there. He's got like little claws at the end too. And then the arms don't have to be placed the same exact way depending on how your little dragonfly is positioned, but I'm just going to place them pretty much the same. Okay, and then he's got two that come down this way, but they're actually underneath the wings, but just still draw them right now. All right, and I think I want, go ahead and adjust anything you want. I think I want to adjust the wings here a little bit, make them a little bit longer. All right, and again, erase your pencil that you don't want. And I'm going to make his body a little bit longer, I think. And it's really skinny down here. It's got like these little things that come out. If you look at one really closely, it's got like these little, I don't know what they are, little claws or something that come out at the end of his tail there. At least the image that I'm looking at, that's what I'm seeing. And then they've got all sorts of little detail going on in here. So if you want to do some like little circles and stuff, but we can always do this with the watercolor markers also. All right. Pretty good. All right, so I am going to pick up, like I said, I've got 6 colors here. And if you've got the Arteza brand, I'm just going to let you know what I'm using. But if you don't, pick up any color you want. I'm going to do mine in shades of green and blue, but in gray, a little bit of grayish purple for the wings. But use any color you want. Just have fun with it. All right, so I'm going to use what's called a green tea for the body. And you're gonna just wanna lay down a little bit. You don't have to lay down in the whole area because you want some lights and darks. So leave a little bit as you're mixing it in with your water and your brush later. You'll have some lights and darks of this color. So don't fill up the whole area. And I'm gonna do the little tail, a little bit on the eyes. So I don't know if you can see this on camera, but I didn't fill in the whole area here. I left some blank. So I'm gonna take a little bit of water and just start blending that in. That way you have a little bit of a variation of lights and darks. Just like that. So we want that to dry a little bit. All right. I'm going to go in with what is called light green. And he is still wet, but you can let it dry a little bit if you want to. And again, I'm not going over the whole thing. I'm just going over little bits and pieces. And the little tail down here is segmented. So just kind of do like little dots. Just every so often. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry a little bit. That's all I wanna do at this point. I'm gonna go in and do the wings now. And I'm using what's called a Parma Gray. It's kind of got a little bit of a purplish, light purple tint to it. And I'm gonna just do all the little veining on the wing. So just use the tip of it. Don't push too hard with the watercolor marker. I'm just kind of outlining his little wing. And then I'm going to bring in all those little veins. So just keep looking at whatever picture you're looking at and just look to see which way all those little veins are going in his wing. All those little marks. And you're just doing this on dry paper. I did not wet my wing at this point. And you can do as much of that little veining as you want. You can get really detailed at this point. But I'm only going to do a little bit. I'm not going to do too much. too much detail. All right, I'm gonna go on to the next wing. I'm gonna outline it again. And this one again is underneath, so you're only seeing really the top wing and the bottom one is just peeking through. And I'm gonna do all that little veining. And again, I'm just using the tip of my watercolor brush because I want to get it as fine as I can. I don't want a thick line. Okay. Turn your page around if you want to, and do the other little wings the same exact way. Perfect. Okay, so you've got something that looks like that at this point. Now you're gonna go ahead and take your bigger brush. I'm moving to my size 12. And like I said, your paper was dry when you did all this veining because you wanted them to be nice, crisp lines. But now I'm gonna go ahead and just add some water, and it's just gonna blend it together a little bit. You can leave some white space if you want to. And just lightly go over it and blend them in. It just blurs the lines a little bit. Just let them bleed in together, just like that. That's all you're gonna do at this point. See that? So it gives it a little bit of like a blurred look compared to this one. So it just blends in your lines a little bit. Go on and do the other two wings. Again, just water. I only have water on my brush. You can leave some white space if you want to for some highlights. We are going to be bringing in a little bit of highlight towards the end of this on his wing with the bleed proof white. But you can go ahead and definitely just leave some white space now if you want to. All right. It's looking good. All right, I'm going to pull in a little bit of my blue. Let's see, what color blue? This is called Arctic Blue. And my wings are still wet, but I'm just gonna do a little bit of veining. You can go over the veins, your existing veins. If you still see them, you can go over your existing veins. But I'm gonna just do a little bit here more towards his body. I'm not gonna cover the whole wing. See that? And I'm gonna let that bleed in because my paper was still wet. I'm just gonna let that bleed in. And you can add as many as you want. I just wanted a little bit of more blue towards the middle of the wings, more towards his body. All right, not even gonna blend that in. I'm just gonna let the water do its thing. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. Let's go back into his body now, and I'm using chamomile, which is a little bit of a darker olivey green. The body is pretty wet now, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more dimension here. Still leaving some white space or light space, depending if you've left white or just a little bit of a light area. And I'm gonna do these little claw things down at the bottom here. And again, it's segmented. His little tail segmented, so it's okay to make little horizontal lines going down. All right. And I'm gonna pick up turtle green, which is a nice dark green. And I'm just gonna go over again and just put a little bit more detail in his body. So just kind of keep looking at the image that you're looking at. And I'm just going in with just the tip of the watercolor marker. So it's nice and light and thin, a thin line. And I'm just segmenting his body even more so you can see it, like that. Okay, and I'm gonna go over his little legs now. So make sure you get all those little joints. Okay. Now, kind of make sure your wing is dry at this point because you don't want it to really bleed into your wing. We're gonna thicken up these little lines here a little bit. Just, you don't have to thicken them up all the way, but just thicken up part of it. Just so they stand out a little bit. And then do even those that are underneath the wing, those little back legs. And right now it looks like it's on top of the wing, but we're gonna push it that it looks like it's underneath the wing in a minute, so don't worry about that. And then he's got like little claws. And if you wanna go in and put a little bit more detail in his face, okay. And let's take our, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and take that same color and just go over a little bit more towards the middle here of his wing. So you're just adding a little bit of that veining on his wing here with the darker color. Just like that. You still want to leave the ends a little bit more see-through, so don't do the whole thing. Go ahead and do the other side. So you might just want to go over where you had done that blue, but maybe not all of it, just a little bit. See how I left some of the blue alone? I didn't go over all the blue. Just like that. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and take our thin brush again. A little bit of water, not a lot. And let's start blending that all in together. Look how pretty that is. It's turning like this limey green when all the colors start blending in together. That's really pretty. You can go over his little legs if you want to, but I'm not going to. I just want to leave them nice and crisp, so I'm just going to leave it like that. You could thicken up the body if you think you need to. All right, now I'm going to go in and put a little bit of water on that veining, that darker veining that we did, just because I want to blend it in just a little bit. So I'm just going over with just a little bit of water and letting that darker color blend in together. Blend into the wing. See that? You can see the difference between this one and that one. I just went in with a little bit of water on the darker marker that I had done, and this one I did not do it yet. So I love this look. If you like that crisp look, leave it alone. You don't need to do water, but this one here, this is the look I like. So I'm gonna take a little bit of water, just the tip of my brush, and go over those darker lines that you just did. And it's gonna blend in beautifully. Okay, that's really pretty. And once this starts to dry, you'll see if you want to add a little bit more. You might want to add a little bit more blue or pink or whatever color you're using towards here, towards like the middle of the wing. I'm just going to leave it alone. Thicken up this little leg a little bit. If you do, I know I said I wasn't going to go over my little legs here. I'm just going to go over them just really, really lightly, just to add a little bit of dimension and highlight. Just gives it a little bit of a dimension. If you see a little bit of that lighter green coming through. but not too much. I don't want too much. All right, so I think I want to go ahead and put maybe a little bit more of that blue coming down on his wing. Just a little bit more. Just like that. Maybe a little bit on this side too. Just because I really like that blue. Pretty. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and dry this, and then we're gonna add a little bit of bleed proof white on his body just for a little bit of highlights. All right, so the bleed proof white that I'm using is Dr. P.H. Martin. I love this stuff. I've used it in several videos. I'm gonna take a brush that I don't really care about, and actually I've been using these brushes. They're just generic brushes. The whole video I've been using these just generic brushes. Nothing I care about too much. So they're not really great brushes. I just don't trust the bleed proof white on my good brushes. All right, so I'm gonna take my size 6, and my Dragonfly is nice and dry, and I'm gonna go in and just drop a few little highlights, like on his eyes, maybe his little mouth area, coming down on those little segmented areas on his body, just to give it a little bit of a shine, just like little dots, little hash marks. You don't want to cover up the whole body, but see how that gives it just a little bit of shine? And we're going to do the same thing to his little arms here. So you still want to see the green or whatever color you chose for his arms, but you want to just give it a little bit of a highlight. So come in very, very lightly. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put a little bit of, we didn't do the back legs yet. Come in and put a little bit of a highlight like on some of the wing. So what I did just now was I washed off my brush because it was getting a little too gloppy. The stuff does get thick. So wash off your brush once in a while so you just got that point again on your brush, a nice fresh point. So see how when you come over with the highlights on the wing, it pushes that back leg down. It pushes it underneath the wing because the wings are on top of that back leg. So just do some highlights over that leg. And you can add some highlights here and there too if you want. If you didn't leave enough white space, you can always just come in with a little white. So all I'm doing is I'm just doing some little veining like we've been doing the whole time. I'm just coming in with a little of that bleed proof white with just some veining on my wing. And you can add as much or as little as you like. And once you see your brush starting to get gloppy and too thick and you're not getting that nice point, wash off your brush and pick up a little bit more white. Because you want that nice tip. And if you want to move down to a smaller size brush for this, you can. I'm just using my size 6 because that's what I've got right here. But I'm just going over a little bit. And then I'm going to take and go over just a little bit of that leg, just to thin it up a little bit, little highlight. But not too much because then you're going to lose the look of it being underneath your wing. Oh, that's pretty. All right, I don't think I want to do more highlight than that. All right, so I know this whole video was with the watercolor markers, but I am going to bring in a little bit of my Winsor Newton here at the end. And I'm just picking up whatever I've got on my palette. I don't even know what this is. It's probably 3 or 4 colors mixed together. Any color you want. I'm going to choose this purpley pink color. You could do green, blue, yellow, whatever you want. I'm taking a bigger brush and I'm just going to go and just add a little bit of color around him. Now try not to go over him just go around it. See how I just accidentally hit the leg here? It's starting to bleed. I did not want that. So that was a little bit of an oops on my part, but don't worry about it. You can always crispen it up later if you do. I just want a little bit of a light color around him. So I'm going to try not to go around or I'm going to try and go around the leg on this one and not hit it. But if you do and it's bleeding and you don't want it to continue bleeding, go ahead and just dry it with a paper towel or your blow dryer or your heat gun, whatever you're using, and that'll stop the bleeding process. And then you can go ahead and fix it if you want to. I'm just going to drop in a few more little darker spots down here, a few here. Maybe come up a little bit this way. And I don't want to do the whole thing because I do like when I leave white around my subjects. So I think I'm just going to blend that out with just some water. There, just like that. Perfect. So that was an easy little dragonfly. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel if you want more videos like this one. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Have a great day. Bye.